सर चेक कर लें इसको। हाँ जी, चेक कर लें कि
वहाँ पर सिर्फ रिप्रेजेंटरी तो
ओके। ये ठीक है जी, आगे।
हेलो। मेरा टाइम तो बढ़ गया यार। इस तरह ठीक है ना? यो यो बंद करेंगे, ये शोर ना करे। हेलो एवरीवन। हेलो।
Quality assurance in higher education refers to the systematic review and evaluation processes that ensure academic programs and institutions maintain and enhance their standards. It aims to guarantee that the education provided meets specific criteria or benchmarks of quality and is consistent with both national and international standards. So overall, the quality assurance in higher education is an ongoing process aimed at improving the educational experience. As in any process, there are certain stakeholders involved, and we will be hearing about that this afternoon. For this session, that will be chaired by Mr. Elcho Bazen. Mr. Elcho is Senior Advisor Quality Assurance in University of Applied Sciences in Utrecht in the Netherlands. With over 10 years of experience in quality assurance in higher education, he is part of the various Dutch and European networks and committees. Elcho holds auditing roles, including chairing internal and international auditing panels, is EFQM assessor, and is president of the Dutch Network for Quality Management. His background in philosophy, management, business management, and quality management combines his passion for education, philosophy, and quality management. So Mr. Bazen is sitting here next to me, and he will be chairing this session. Our co-chair will arrive at some stage. So our first speaker of this session is Dr. Kajal Hayad from the Khyber Medical University in Peshawar. So her title is Governance Models for Students' Involvement in Higher Education, a Comparative Analysis. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. So my esteemed guests and respected colleagues, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. So today, where is my first slide? Okay, all right. So the topic of my today presentation is coinciding the theme of the Pankahi conference, and it is an honor to me to discuss my study with the international experts and all of you, and leading to forward. My study is basically, this study is the collective work of me and Dr. Bassam, who is a well-known figure, Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad from University of Bahrain. He is the director in quality assurance, and fortunately he is present here in the conference, but unfortunately not in this panel. So our study actually covers the importance of the student involvement in the governance model and the quality assurance, and the global aspects, its global importance. So we make actually the system for the students. If we neglect the students from involvement into the quality assurance, it would be very unfair, because for the system is for them, so their involvement is very much important in higher education. So if you see role of the students as a stakeholder in decision making, it is very important. And today I am going to give you a comparative analysis of the research paper, comparative analysis of the governance models in different regions. I have selected some regions globally, and these regions are Pakistan, Bahrain, rest of the Middle East, and Europe, and South, North America, and South Pacific. Okay. All right. The objective of my study actually covers the, as I told you, that the participation of the students, the involvement of the students in the higher education to ensure the quality assurance. And this study actually analyzes the governance model across these regions, which I told you, and then identified the best practices. We have actually enlisted the challenges which we actually face during the governance model or the involvement of students into the higher education or quality assurance. So after doing an extensive literature review, it was very big, but I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. And after the literature review, we have seen that in Europe, they are observing the Bologna process, which actually legally mandates the students' involvement into the quality assurance. So in Pakistan, we see that Higher Education Commission are governing the quality enhancement cells in different institutes, in all the institutes of the in Pakistan. So HECs is governing the QECs, and QECs are making sure the involvement of the students into the governance or the quality assurance. So at present, we can see that and the framework of the HEC, we can see that they are involving the students indirectly into the governance. So we are making the practice, and recently there is a PSG 2023, which are the framework presented by the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, and they will make sure the direct involvement of the students as a stakeholder in the quality enhancement. So in the Middle East, including the Bahrain, we see that Saudi Arabia is having the NCAA, and which causes the regional initiatives encourage structured engagement of the students into the governance. In the coming towards the North America, we can see that policies have been made by them, and which actually encourages the active involvement of the students into the governance and into the quality assurance. Like the Student Voice Act, which gives a privileged example for the student involvement. Now coming towards the Asia Pacific, if you see Australia University is observing student guilds, and rest of the Asia Pacific, many universities are observing student guilds for the involvement of the students into the quality assurance. All right. I hope you all are with me. What are actually the steps which I involved? We involved in conducting this study. These were we collected the resources. We collected the sources actually, which included the annual reports of the institutes and the feedback reports and the policies, the frameworks, and then after the sources, we had done the comparative analysis of all the collected data, and then the collected data were then seen for the governance models. We have observed all the governance models into these regions, and then we evaluated that there are some aspects like legal mandates, student representation, which are very much important in the student in the governance. All right, these were the steps. See. Yes. Okay. Now it's fine. So after collecting the sources, we then analyzed the data, and after that we extracted some of the aspects or key focus areas, which are student representation, feedback mechanisms, quality assurance integration, digitalization, which is very important, and the quality assurance frameworks. And then we lead it towards the evaluating the legal mandates of the students' impact. Now, this is the summary of the comparative analysis which we have conducted. It's just a glimpse over here. We can see that these are actually the aspects. These are the aspects, and these are the regions under which we are. We can see that in Europe, the student representation was strong. strong and it was legally mandated. Legally mandated means that they had they ensure the involvement of the students into the quality assurance. So as far as the digital platform is concerned, they had the hybrid model, which has the strong impact on the student involvement, and the legal mandates are, yes, I have told. In the Middle East, including the Bahrain, we can see that the student representation is varied across the regions within the Bahrain. In different universities, they are observing the different governance models. So, but still it is improving. HEC Bahrain is making sure to involve the students as a strong stakeholder. Now coming towards the digital platforms in Middle East, including Bahrain, it is emerging, but it's not, established at this moment, but they are trying. And legal aspects, some of them are observing the legal aspects, but others are not. So you can see in the North America, there are advisory focus group discussion and advisory councils for the students, which make sure the involvement of the students into the governance and the quality assurance. Now you can see that the digital platforms, they do have advanced level, and legal mandates same, some are observing and while others are not. In Pakistan, the student representation, as I told you, that it is at presently, it is limited. The indirect involvement of the students into the governance. But PSG 2023 by the HEC, they are introducing, they have recently introduced, but it's emerging, not implemented at the implementation level. So they are making sure the direct involvement of the students into the governance model to ensure the quality assurance. PSG 2023 is strongly, like, they are working in collaboration with the Europe standard guidelines, but they are lacking in the at the digital aspect. So this is the and in the legal mandates, there are no legal mandates in the Pakistan to ensure the students' involvement. Coming towards the Asia Pacific, as I have told, that they have guild-based governance, and digital platforms are very strong, but the legal mandates are lacking. So what challenges we have, actually they have changed my original PPT, which was having animations, and that was very attractive for the audience, but I think they have changed it. So policy enforcement, these are the challenges which we have faced while conducting the comparative analysis. Policy enforcement inconsistency and the digital adoption was limited in some regions. It is the era of AI, so we cannot neglect this digitalization, right? So unequal student representation, all of the students were not given the rights to represent or give their ideas. Gaps in student decision-making authority. So these were the challenges, and how to overcome this. So to overcome this, so these are the challenges, and they had added the slide to my presentation. Okay, so the summary of that Europe and Australia lead in structured engagement, of course, because of the legal mandates and the Bologna process and the ESG guidelines. So they ensure the student representation in equal way. So actually, students are the creatures that when you impose things over them, then they do it religiously. Otherwise, they are. Digital governance tools can enhance student participation, of course, and the policies for the governance, the framework should be strong enough. As I have told, given the example of the Pakistan in the shape of PSG 2023. So the summary, these are, by these applying these aspects or focus group areas aspects, we can reinforce the involvement of the students into the governance. So the best practices and recommendations, these are the recommendations which I told you, the challenges should be overcome, and then we can get the better result. So these are the practices, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking to time.
Yeah, actually, I must say that they have changed my presentation to some level. I had a lot of animations, which were somehow.
Thank you for a very informative talk. I do like to welcome our co-chair who has joined us here today, Dr. Imran Ullah Marwat. Thank you for joining us. The next speaker on the list is Mr. or Dr. Farouk Idris. Anji. Please make your way to the front here. It's on EFQM model as a tool for performance management in higher education. So, Dr. Farouk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Farouk Idris, Director Quality Assurance at National Defense University. It's a public sector university owned by all three forces: Navy, Pakistan Army, and Pakistan Air Force. It works as a training institute for the three forces. Apart from this, it provides the services, the advisory services regarding the various national policies for government of Pakistan, like national foreign policy, national security policy, national media policy, etc., through its think tank known as ISRA. This topic is about the EFQM excellence model as a tool for performance management. It's a concept study. It's a segment of a broader work that we are working at NDU, which is a very research-intensive university. As I told you, it's the portfolio. When we talk about the excellence through the various models or the frameworks, and since morning, we have come across in the various frameworks, and like the radar, the ADRI model that we just came across yesterday through Dr. Bassam. EFQM is another model which may help us in integrating the various efforts that we are doing at our respective institutes, the organizations, to achieve those desired results which we are aiming for. So this particular presentation is about the application of a specific model known as the EFQM, European Foundation for Quality Management model, that how this may be integrated to our existing working that we are working under the umbrella of the PSC Pakistan Percepts Standards Guidelines given by the HEC to the universities. When we talk about the excellence in the higher education institutions, it's excellence in curriculum through various approaches like dealing with the teaching and learning methods, assessment and monitoring evaluation, dealing with the scholarships, educational principles, coming across with the strategic approaches. Sorry for this blurred slide. It's talking about the bringing the excellence in the culture as well. Because yesterday in a workshop, we were talking about the role of the organization structure when we are aiming to achieve something through the deployment of the various approaches. Apart from the organization structure, we also go for aligning the existing organization culture to make our approaches useful and successful in our respective organizations. When we talk about the teaching excellence, there are again various models, various dimensions like academic standards, academic scores, student satisfaction, etc. There are the operational excellence dimensions in the Institutes of Higher Education Commission, in the Institutes of Higher Education. There are the dimensions of financial excellence to make our university or organization financially stable, to remain in that particular market. This is a literature review that I've tried to summarize in just one slide for your convenience. That the dominant perspective on the education, on the quality management, these are the pertinent scholars that you must read. This is actually the summary of the whole journey, which I've tried to summarize after reading several books as far as the quality assurance in higher education is concerned. We have came across in the various terminologies in the recent past, especially in the last 5-6 years, through the various accreditation councils, through the various the workshops and given by the HEC to the QEC focal persons and the program team members and faculty, that outcome-based education, we go for the problem-based learning or the progressive education, etc. When we look at the literature of quality assurance in higher education, we came across with the word or the paradigm, or we can say the philosophy of the pragmatism. I must recommend you to read this thing to understand all this evolution that has been taken place during the last 200 years, especially, because this will help us in understanding where we are from where we have actually come, and where we are actually moving. Because this is actually the philosophy which is behind all these various the frameworks or the methodologies or the approaches that we are using in our existing quality assurance in education, either in the engineering side or the medical side, medical education, or the non-medical education, etc. The pragmatism is actually the philosophy which is aiming for teaching those skills or those contents which may work for the students. So the application of the knowledge is actually at the crux of this particular philosophy. This is actually the framework of my whole work, that to make any quality management model successful, we need to work on the organizational culture. Not only the making changes in the organization structure. First of all, the most pertinent thing is to work on making our organizational culture agile and fertile to absorb those changes to produce what we are actually aiming for. So here, today we will talk about one of the many models of the total quality management, that is the EFQM excellence model. Just to recap, because in the subsequent slide, I will try to actually link what the PSG is telling us and how we can actually use the EFQM excellence model to supplement the work of the PSG in terms of conducting our IQA, that is the pre and the ripe. I think all of us are familiar with these terminologies. The PSG actually requiring all the universities to develop its own quality assurance framework. So this EFQM excellence model may also help us in developing our own QA framework, which may work for our universities. So this is the concept summary of the framework that we are using in NDU. There are the internal assessment, external assessment. It's an integration. Internal is the one which is conducted by the external bodies like accreditation bodies, the Higher Education Commission, accreditation bodies from Pakistan or from abroad, and here the internal assessment is actually the one which is conducted by our own universities, but with the help of the assessors from the pool of assessors, which is approved by the HEC and by our university, because there are certain limitations and certain guidelines by the universities that with these skill sets, the evaluator will must be equipped with the minimum skill set defined by the university. The outcome of this internal and external assessment is actually the identification of the CA. The CA stands for the competitive advantage. The competitive advantage may be in the domain of the financial excellence, maybe teaching, maybe research. So through this exercise, we have tried to identify those competitive advantages of the university which we need to maintain, on which we need to build up our subsequent strategic plan. Because I think a strategic plan is currently being developed by all universities as a mandatory requirement of PSG. So this model is helping us in identifying the CA, and the outcome of this particular model is actually to improve the quality of teaching and learning environment of the university. These are the various tools or the surveys which we have identified here, like to engage are the various stakeholders, alumni survey, employer, teacher evaluation. We have customized it. These surveys make it short and related and relevant to the program learning and objectives and program educational objectives. for the BS and for MPhil and PhD. There are different surveys. And we have a statutory body known as the UERC, University Examination Research Committee, which is looking after the research progress at MPhil and PhD level. Because it's a statutory body having the committee specifically designed for every scholar, having one external expert outside from the university, one methodology expert, HOD, and obviously the supervisor and the co-supervisor. So it's a 5-member committee. They fill the form, and then the score is actually presented to the relevant forum, that is the ASRB or the BUSSER. So cutting it short, these are the various tools apart from the one which is mentioned here. The benchmarking, the best, the research awards, the departmental review, the ranking, etc., that we have actually discussed in the morning, that how, to which extent they may be taken into the quality framework. It depends upon the university, that either they are the high power or low interest stakeholder, or high power or high interest stakeholders. So we have defined their intervention in our university, in our governance system, and according to this, we are actually engaging these stakeholders. This is actually, we need to understand this thing, that the core of our all activities which is being conducted by the university as a whole, because the quality is the mandate of everyone, not only the QA is just the facilitator, the change agents. So these are the various deliverables. So I'm going to the model now. This is the model of the EFQM excellence model. There are 3 main things. One is the direction. The second one is the how to implement the direction, that is the execution, and the third one is the results. These are the various and objectives which I've already explained, that why we need to go for this thing, for implementation of the model, that the building the organization capability for improvement, that is based on the competitive advantage. EFQM excellence model is actually based on 3 things: concepts, quality concepts, that we need to involve all the stakeholders, the criteria, and the radar. There are 7 criteria. I have listed all these things along with the details that may be shared with you through the presentation. So these are the various fundamental concepts of the total quality management. Now this is the model. The direction is actually again split into the 2 things: the purpose, vision, strategy. The second one is the organization culture and leadership. Because of its importance, it is given a separate weightage. Execution, engaging the stakeholders, creating the sustainable values, and third one is the driving performance. And these are the results. Results for the stakeholders and results for the strategic and the operational activities of the organization. The important thing here is all these things are connected through this line, which is known as the red thread, because everything is connected. In this model, it is educating that what we are doing as a part of our vision, mission, and the execution, these are the enablers that we are actually investing into the system, and this is the output. That is what we are getting through our efforts. It is the results. So it is working on the principle of cause and effect. These are the causes, these 2, and this is the result. So this concept may help us in linking the PSG framework, that we have 16 criteria, how they are interconnected. So this may help us. So this you can read on your own. The presentation may be handed over to you. Now, the last thing which I would like to mention, it is the radar, that how we actually use this methodology to assess the workability of this model in our system. Yes, this one, because the point. Okay, I'm summarizing. These are the, when we add all these things, 100 points for the vision, 100 points for the culture, and 100 points for these things. Collectively, these are the 1,000 points. So out of 1,000 points, there are the rubrics which are given by the model, which we can use to assess at which on culture, because we need to have a rubric on which aspect we are moving ahead and on which aspect we are actually lagging. So this is actually the radar model, that for approaches and for execution, and this is the results. We need to understand all these things. The approach should be sound, it should be properly deployed, and it should be evaluated. Apart from this thing, the approach should be sound, it should be properly implemented, because properly implemented, we need to say, we mean that proper resources in terms of times, efforts, and the human resource, financial resource must be given to that particular activity. Okay, so these are the criteria, 7 criteria, and these are the details in the subsequent slides, that what is the purpose, vision, organization, culture. So it's self-explanatory and already given in the booklet of the EFQM excellence model. The last thing, yes. So the details is mentioned here by approaches sound. What is the description? It is mentioned here. And these are the, for the performance, what is the scope, what is the usability? So all these things are mentioned here. This is the last slide. When the score is above 300, the performance is declared a good performance. And when the score is above 500, it is an excellent. And when the score is 700 plus, it is the world class. So these are the criteria of against 7 criteria, the sub criteria. So these are the scoring. So that's how we actually come up with the rubric by the end of this activity, which helped us in identifying that out of 1,000 points, how many we are actually getting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Farooq. The next speaker on the list is Fakiha Rahman. Please try to stick to the allocated time of 10 minutes. Thank you.
Management is first. Just go that. Right now, I will take my. Yeah.
Very much. हो गई बस हो गई Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Professor Dr. Fakia Rahman, and I am currently working as Head of Pathology Department and Director Quality Enhancement Cell in Faisalabad Medical University. So previously, my exposure to working in Quality Enhancement Cell is back in 2018, where I worked as Member Quality Enhancement Cell at King Edward Medical University from year 2018 to year 2021. So I have also worked as, and I'm still working as technical assessor for Pakistan National Accreditation Council for almost last 10 years. So as we all know that there is a complete checklist and a scorecard regarding yearly progress report submission. And this is my topic, which is challenges and future perspective in submission of yearly progress report by quality enhancement cells. So the new thing in YPR checklist this time is RIPE, IQC, and annual activity calendar, which all universities have already submitted. So RIPE is basically review of institutional performance evaluation. And we are lucky that QAA of Higher Education Commission, it has been arranging different workshops on RIPE. And we are very thankful to Dr. Abdul Wahid Usmani as well, who is Director QEC at Jinnah Sindh Medical University. And we took an online training workshop from him on March 18, 2025. So this is the certificate of participation in this conference. Now coming to program self-assessment, we all know that the first step is nomination of the program team and assessment teams, then preparation of the executive summary, and then implementation plan preparation, corrective action taken by the department, and the online surveys. So these are the different self-assessment of various programs we have been conducting last year and this year, which is self-assessment of anesthesia technology, then pathology, my department as well, and self-assessment program of radiology, gynae, and different departments in our hospital. So this is a picture which I took from 2018 when I did a self-assessment at maxillofacial department. Now, challenges in submission of SAR. First of all, awareness that why it's important. Awareness of the faculty and the stakeholders and various students which are involved in preparation of this self-assessment report. Then cooperation with them, how we have been cooperating with them. We have been even sharing the filled formats of templates of SAR with the relevant departments who are finding it difficult to prepare the SAR. We help them in preparation of the report, and finally submission of the implementation plan and corrective action. At each step, we have been cooperating with them. Then there is program accreditation, which is another important parameter. Now, many times there is burst of new programs being introduced in the university, and they are just celebrating it and they are sharing the pictures in newspaper. But we are worried that, are you working? And we ask them that, are you working on the NOC? Are you working on the NOC of these newly introduced programs? But many times they don't bother about it, which is very important, that each time we start a new and fascinating program, we should start working on its NOC from the relevant accreditation councils. So in our case, the relevant accreditation council is PMDC, and for allied health sciences programs, there is Allied Health Professional Council. And this has been a flyer which has been shared by the HEC regarding obtaining NOC for launching of MS, MPhil or equivalent PhD programs is mandatory. So we are left with certain programs which got accreditation, and there are many programs which do not get accreditation status. And for those, the students, they complete their programs, at the end they suffer regarding the recognition of their degrees at various levels. Now, program review. We have been conducting MDMS program reviews in our university. So this is the program team notification. And very important, functioning of QEC Secretariat. Now, these are the various parameters regarding functioning of QEC Secretariat. So this is our QEC team, which is supervised by our worthy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Zafar Ali Chaudhary. Then this is the budget, very important parameters which are part of the QEC functioning, which include membership of the international QA body. Now, this is a parameter which requires budgeting. Then contribution and participation at national and international level, and that's why I'm standing here and I submitted abstract for this conference. Then consolidated allocation and consumption report by finance department, in which we face certain challenges. Then awareness seminars and workshop, an example of one of this seminar, I have shared the picture over here. And finally, the infrastructure and facilities. Now, I gave my introduction in first slide that I'm working as head of pathology, as director QEC, as technical assessor for PINAC. Now, this was not that I'm a very expert person. This was just to tell you that I have a lot of multitasking, and this is many of us are facing this challenge, that we are assigned many tasks in addition to our role as director QEC. So very important awareness and attitude regarding what is quality, why it is important. And many times when I talk about it, I just tell them about university ranking. जो उनको एक लालच देना होता है वो ये कि जी this is related to university ranking. If you give it importance and you will support us, the ranking of university will be improved. There is no self-projection. There is projection and improvement ranking of the university. Now coming to the future perspective. So very importantly, my another colleague already mentioned about it, that stakeholder engagement matters a lot. So QEC is directly coming under the leadership of Vice Chancellor, and many decisions they are disposed of, or many decisions they need the support of our higher authorities. So the framework of quality assurance model, there are standards and benchmarks, self-evaluation and external review, stakeholder engagement, innovative practices, continuous improvement, accreditation and certification, and data-driven decision-making. Now, HEC has a QAA department, Quality Assurance Agency, which is already supporting us a lot. It has internal quality assurance, which in the form of quality enhancement cell, and external quality assurance in the form of various accreditation councils, PhD review committees, and institutional performance evaluation. So this is a flow chart of the organization organogram of HEC. Now, these are the various WhatsApp groups which are already helping us. Like there is a group with the name of QEC Paternity, which has members from QA department of HEC as well. And there is another group which I think it was almost 1 month back, this group was made. It's regarding the program review for effective implementation of HEC policies. Now, the other future perspectives they include, there is a conference of INCA on the topic of quality assurance and artificial intelligence. It's due this year in 2025 in Tokyo. So use of artificial intelligence tools in higher education, it can be in advanced student skills in AI, teachers' proficiency and student proficiency using AI tools, and effective useness of AI tools. So this is the AI assessment tools, and the key challenges of AI and quality engineering include data quality, reliability concern, model bias, cost, and comparatives. So very important, empowering our staff by taking these measures. So these are the various scheduling, urgent tasks and delegation and deletion of unnecessary tasks and distractions. So no one cares about your efforts on the results. So we should not quit it. We should just do it. Thank you so much.
Hello, sorry. We can use this one.
Thank you for an insightful presentation. The next one on the rank is Dr. Sadia Pasha Kamran.
Are you able to stand up?
I'm prefer to say for me, that will make it quicker. Sorry?
This one is
I think I'm comfortable. And well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sadia Pasha Kamran, and I think I'll begin with a confession. I'm not sure if my research is fully belongs to this session where you people are discussing the models of stakeholders engagement. And I, as a visual artist and an art educationist, is still struggling to convince the stakeholders that they are the stakeholders. But I guess nevertheless, you can bear me for 10 minutes. This presentation is part of an ongoing project titled Decolonizing Art and Design Education in Pakistan, Linking Research, Practice and Policy, which realizes the need to reevaluate the strategies for a more comprehensive and result-oriented approach in art and design education. It asks for rendering the terms and relocating the compass on imminent challenges than merely reiterating the cause and effect of being a former colony. It proposes contextually engaged learning and system of knowledge production as a promising approach towards a more stabilized society that is eager to create an impact on the global horizon. Looking at the history and politics of education system in colonial India, we realize that it negated the ancient legacy of Indian art and it being a seat of higher learning and knowledge since the axial age, as justified with the presence of Texla University in 10th century BC and Nalanda University in 5th century AD. The contribution of Indian metaphysicians and logicians is confirmed through Jain, Buddhist, and Hindu traditions. During the medieval era, India got introduced to the Islamic conventions of learning. Arabs and Turks who brought Islam to the subcontinent were acquainted with the sophisticated Persian culture and its achievements. In educational leadership of the medieval world, translation of Greek knowledge into Arabic by Muslim scholars is acknowledged as an extensive feat that enabled the European Renaissance. Islamic education focused on the spiritual elevation and intellectual heritage, hence a focus on madrasas and khanqahs that provided ethical and practical manifestation of a just and useful life as the main aim of all learning pursuits. In colonial India, education was not a priority. British officers lacked academic acumen and their attitude was demeaning. I understand that discussing policies, projections, and procedures for art education under the changing political regimes in Pakistan since 1947 are relevant here, but way out of the scope of this presentation due to the constraints of time. I shall claim that art education, its scope, methodology, and curriculum remained colonized in spirit and execution, resulting in alienating arts from the mainstream education and promoting Western aesthetics. And here are some of the examples that directed the creative industries. This is how we started following the Western aesthetics blindly. Okay, the research also identified that policymakers have been, number one, under the influence of various political agendas, administering art practices and art education under the religious domain. And number two, in case of HEC, they have been mostly from the field of science and technology, who were not being able to set the direction of art education in a way that would augment visual art in Pakistani scenario. Number three, art educationists who have been celebrated practitioners of art did not pay attention to develop pedagogies to best suit the needs of indigenous students. The scene changes and we enter the 21st century, where geopolitics and globalization in terms of deviating democracies, dilapidated economies, technological advancement, human conditions and ecologies intensify the need to integrate teaching, learning, research, scholarship, and communal development as a connective activity. This implies complex interaction between various streams of knowledge, physical, metaphysical, spiritual, philosophical, and applied. One system, one strategy, and one approach is no longer a solution here. There can be as many appropriate answers to a given question of art and design education. The fast changing times alter the scope of art. These vicissitudes require modification in the education system. In practice, such a mindset will diminish the hierarchy of fine arts over crafts or the rift between representational and conceptual art. It will challenge the Western hegemony over Eastern art. Cross-cultural influences are a reality. These influences have been traced in historic objects and must be considered valid in the age of globalization. Colonization of India is a reality. It cannot be reversed, but the after effects, when realized, can be addressed and reprimanded. Religion, politics, economy, and the natural world have always been the main features that affect the production of art and cultural industries. So does the lived experiences and the forthcoming challenges and prospects. All these factors must be weaved together for an effective art and design education. What I am implying is that there is not a single stakeholder when it comes to art education. In contemporary scenario, creativity is an activity which denies the linear equation between creator and consumer, demand and supply, or action and reaction. Identifying the issues and prioritizing the gaps in the field of visual art education provides insights, and we propose step 1, defining art for 21st century Pakistan. Is it still a concern and a luxury for an elite, or it can be adopted as a way of life? 2, we need to develop pedagogies that make art relevant to society and our times. And of course, this shall determine the quality in visual arts, which would be the first step towards quality assurance in art education. Thank you.
Thank you for insightful presentation. Then the next one is Shakila, Dr. Shakila Noor Sidhu. Dr. Shakila, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Since we're the host, so welcome to all the delegates, and it's a privilege to present before you guys. My presentation is basically to engage the stakeholders because I feel we can't work in isolations, and the best strategy is to work as a community and co-design things. Thank you. This is something which I believe the co-designing should be very, this collaboration should be very meaningful, not as a very bureaucratic kind of thing. And why the quality assurance in higher education? Because this is something which is very important for, is it the same? No, it's not the same presentation. Excuse me? It's not the same presentation.
They have changed it.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. My apologies for that. It's an inconvenience. Yeah, here we go. Thank you, Heidi. This is what the whole purpose is. Why actually we are talking about the quality assurance? That's the need of the moment because the world is transformed, and transformation is that everybody have realized economies are dependent on better education and better human capital. And that's only possible through education, higher education. So we need to transform the old traditional concept of education and higher education. That means instead of just relying, it's for leisure, it's for mental well-being and all that, or creativity, it's going beyond that, that this is something which is taking as the driver, as the driving force to run the state economies, a driving force which works for the state development, and something which can work for the societal improvement. And quality assurance in higher education, obviously, as it's become the fundamental or a driving force for every state, it requires that there needs to be academic standards needs to improve. They need to, institutional credibility needs to work on, and promotes continuous improvement needs to be there, because we're changing every day. Every day is a challenges are new, so we need to continue working with that. Facilities need to be very global, because if we are meeting the challenges of the globe, we need to work in response to that. It should work the institutional accountability, not institutions should not work in isolation, rather, and not in complete autonomy. Rather, there needs to be all sorts of accountabilities and collaboration among institutions. Support evidence-based decision-making should be there. Decisions must not be made anymore in isolation. Why there is need for inclusive engagement of stakeholders in Pakistan's HEC? Because for all these decades, we have been working, higher education has been working on its own without really bothering the societal needs, developmental processes, and people's development. So the two reasons which that's why this research was conducted. The first was that our higher education is working basically on the top-down formula. Everything is being imposed. Certainly, we receive a policy and everybody is informed. Graduation degree was 2 years, now it's 4 years. This is the faculty load, or these are the new courses we are working with, and these are the trends. So that is very top-down kind of approach, which is working in the institutions. Second important thing is that responsiveness, the relevance and responsiveness. We don't need the doctors or engineers. That's not the process. It's in trend. So the institutions are producing them for the market without realizing the market is responsive to that, or market really require that kind of degree. It's just an example. Research objective was to explore the effective practices for involving stakeholders, which are obviously the students, faculty, alumni, QEC departments, and the employers. And the focus of this research was exclusively to collaborate and to encourage them to communicate and interact with each other for effective decision-making. Theoretical foundation of this research was derived from George Polya's work, who was a Hungarian mathematician, and he gave a wonderful idea that if you seriously want to address a problem, you first need to identify the problem and seriously see that and devise a plan. See if this kind of problem you had in the past and there was any plan, and see why did it fail? Because you don't need to invent the wheel every time. You should try to make most of the existing knowledge. And then the most important thing is carrying out the plan. Seriously implement that, continuously implement that. Be open to receive the feedback, which is looking back. Be open to receive the feedback and see where you can improve it, where it's not working. If it's not working somewhere, adopt the lateral ideas or lateral strategies. Research methodology that was adopted is a mixed method approach. So many universities, thank you so much for all those universities, all those people who contributed in that. So it was good. Student is the first thing which I believe are the important stakeholders, and their feedback is very, very important for so many reasons, and the few I have listed over here, because to measure their satisfaction with the teaching. Are they really satisfied whatever we are teaching them? Are they really satisfied that their knowledge is market competitive? Or if there is a use of their knowledge? Or do they really, I mean, are we going to give them the kind of education which is enlightening them? Or we're just giving them transmitting some kind of knowledge without giving them the sense of creativity and analytical skills? The policy gap over here, which I found in my research, that students are involved somewhere to some extent, but the only involvement is because it's a policy requirement at certain stages. Not really that we want to engage students for their input, but just because to fulfill the policy requirements. Second is the need of evidence for a file. Third thing which I noticed was the bureaucratic expectations. So when I checked with the students, the survey reflected there's so many universities who students contributed in that, but most of the 52 people out of 103 said their current quality of assurance or mechanisms needs improvement. They were not very satisfied. They were thinking that there needs to be certain kind of strategies or certain kind of policies to improve the quality mechanisms. Then the major challenges in improving quality assurance, they listed, and some of them listed it's the lack of resources and, more importantly, ineffective implementation of the policies. Limited stakeholder participation, they also agreed with that, and bureaucratic hurdles. What kind of training and professional development would benefit them or the institution? Assure policy. So some 66% said quality assurance framework training is very important, and obviously important for the students, for faculty, and QEC obviously for responsible for that. So data-driven decisions should be made instead of making decisions in isolation without having some data evidence. Are students given opportunities to provide feedback on quality education? 21 people only said yes regularly, and perhaps there are fewer. 51% said sometimes, and I guess the reason was that I asked them. So they thought, okay, so sometimes we are asked. Faculty is the second most important stakeholder, which is responsible to deliver knowledge, give or inspire students, the next generation, to move forward. And they are the ones who are involved in assessments, curriculum designing, and peer reviews, most sensitive areas, because curriculum designing and curriculum delivery are something which everybody knows can be interpreted and done in different manners. So they are the key, the people. Then they bridge between the institutions and the goals of the student learning. So that means faculty is one of the most important stakeholder. Problem with the policy gap with this policy gap was that most of these evaluations or practices which are made, they're made for the promotion, they're made for the development, or they're made because they are the quality assurance department's requirement. Not that most of the teachers really feel it's very important, but it's being done because they think this is a requirement. So when the teachers were asked, do you think quality assurance practices are adequate and aligned? Most of the teachers, by the way, most of the teachers were reluctant to respond. Most of the QC people were reluctant to respond because there was a problem. I have asked the name of the people. So that shows the responses. How often are faculty members consulted about the changes in the academic policies? Often and occasionally, so we can see the graph. Do you believe that the faculty feedback is valued in implemented administration? Again, the majority is not very comfortable with that. What improvement would encourage more faculty engagement in quality assurance? There's so many things, and some majority said more transparent communication from administration, and then incentives for participation in policy making. Alumni is the third main factor which can contribute in the improvement of the quality or ensure quality assurance. And alumni are the insights on relevance of programs in professional life, because they are the one who are in the market and who can evaluate best which university or which program are serving them what. Strengthen institutional memory and provide mentorship. Obviously, they can do that. The problem over here was that inadequate feedback mechanism. People who graduated, people who do their master's, MPhil, or whatever, after earning their degree, they're least bothered. They're not in touch normally. I'm talking about the normal situations. Institutional restrictions would shift. Institutions are not very open to accept the feedback and changes. They're not willing to change because that's a direct hit on the hierarchy. So what aspects of your academic experience could be improved? Majority said perhaps research opportunities and curriculum relevance to industry. Have you ever been asked to provide feedback to your alma mater? Yes and no. Majority says no. Would you be willing to contribute to your institution? Most of them are agreed to contribute in different capacities, which is great. How often would you like to be engaged in your institution? So people have said, most of them said regularly, which is great. Quality assurance stakeholder is one of the most important area. Quality assurance department is obviously responsible to uplift the university's credibility. And this is something which set the rules, enhance institutional care through capacity, by building capacity and define the benchmarks. Quality assurance people believe that who could play the major role, and they said faculty, and the second one is administration. Obviously, the commitment is required. How involved do you think stakeholders are in decision-making for quality? So somewhat involved, that's the majority's response. What are the major challenges in improving quality assurance in higher education? So the responses are mixed. And do you think quality assurance practices are adequately aligned with evolving needs of the workforce and society? Which is again quite mixed. And what do you think are the primary barriers of effective stakeholder equipment engagements in quality assurance? So it's lack of resources, lack of interest from faculty and the students. Just give me 2 more minutes. I found that students, when they're asked to evaluate their teachers, they really don't, because of their own reasons. So suggestions, which I just thought there needs to be structural dialogues. There needs to be integrated feedback mechanisms. Collaborative decision-making should be there, and transparency of information sharing, because things should not be in secrecy. Recognition and incentives, people who are participating in this work should be recognized if they're performing well, and then inclusive digital platforms should be offered to engage people. Promote institutional partnership with this could be industry, this could be employment network, alumni network, and all that. And then promoting a shared vision of quality. That's most important thing, where mission of the institution corresponds to societal needs. Concluding remarks, quality assurance processes should be continuously engaged in improving learning and teaching instead of becoming another bureaucratic hassle. And co-designing is not always a matter of inviting community members. Rather, it is power redistribution, expertise redefined, and collective imagination, which is very hard at this point of time, but perhaps we will get mature in future. Through the research, though the research is conducted to fill the knowledge gaps, but the real problem is the lack of action, as directed and desired by George Polya, for a sustainable solution of the problem. So the findings which this conference will have, I would really wish if they could get implemented instead of lying in the theoretical newspapers or maybe in the files. Thank you so much, everybody.
We have a number of people that have not been able to come. So this was the last speaker for this afternoon. I've been asked to remind the people of the annual general meeting of the Bangai members. There will be an E025 from 4:30 to 5:30. Okay, so the annual general meeting will be this afternoon. Any questions? I think we have some time for a few questions. And obviously some answers there too. So are there any questions for any of the speakers among us? Not everyone at once. No more questions. We'll go suffer. Okay. Yeah, any comments from the chairman or the co-chair?
Thank you, Mr. Some papers were very excellent, but some paper, being a quality professional, must say that it was not up to the mark. And even I am wondering on our review committee that who recommend this paper, because this is a research-oriented conference. So we must take care with proper, we must come with proper data, and we must come with proper background. So thanks to all, but again, it's an international conference, so kindly work on this. Is especially guests from abroad. So being a Pakistan, our culture is much different from the Europe, from the, like Madam explained our data in a very well way. It was a comparison, it was a data, but again, in fact, our HEC, Agara service here, quality assurance HEC has included, is doing the revised framework implementation for last 2.5 years. They have spent much fund on this and taking all the stakeholders on board. But here, the data was presented that HEC is doing everything from the HEC is doing following the top to bottom approach, and just policy come from the top. It's not so. So we must take at least ground realities. We must have the knowledge of all these, what HEC is doing, what the provincial government or what the accreditation council are doing. So at least ground realities and actual picture should be there. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And then I'll give some final comments from my side. No questions for the speakers, but I do want to thank all the speakers, all the presenters here today for their excellent work, their nice presentations. I was impressed by the diversity and the quality of your presentation, so thank you very much. I suppose that those will be as interesting, or probably more interesting even for you as practitioners, as Pakistan practitioners in quality assurance, than they were for me. I was enriched by the research I saw on international the comparison, the national research, the national examples of what is being done on quality assurance, the models that are introduced partially and used, and showcases for the use of those models. So it would be very interesting to see if those models are indeed being used, hopefully in the coming time, and see what it brings you, what it can bring you. Which of course is as well for the conclusions of the research. All those suggestions and best practices that were presented, I think those are things we and you can use to bring home and chew on and think on what it means for you, for your institution, for your work in quality assurance, and especially taken together. From the international perspective to the national practices to institutional practices, I think there's real enrichment in those multi-perspectivity, which is, I think, as well the general thing maybe to take away from this conference at all. I mean, this is just the first day, of course, of the conference, but in stakeholder engagement, as far as I'm concerned, it's much about the richness of the voices and the multi-perspectivity of all the different stakeholders we hear. We hear a lot about students, of course, which is natural, but as well staff, governments, society at large, representatives from the labor market, of course, and all that combination of those voices, of those perspectives, is what really brings her forward. Although indeed, as you said, your presentation was less on QA in the direct hard sense, but personally, I was interested by the detour in art education. So actually, I loved it. And I think with those remarks, I will conclude my message. So again, thank you. And I guess we now go to the distribution of the shields for the presenters, right?
Yeah, so we have a few, we have got a token of our appreciation for those that have been able to present. So maybe we can do that here up the front and with the chairman with us. So the first one is for Dr. Kajal Hayat.
The photographer.
Next, right song की जगह ना इस साइड
निवेशक मल्टीमीडिया आप कर रहे हैं
Then Dr. Farouk Idris.
Dr. Farouk Idris. Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fakiha Rahman. Thank you. Good, insightful presentation. Sadia Pasha. Thank you. Shakila, Dr. Shakila. I think that's about it. The other ones. Yep. Yep. Okay, well, I think that concludes it for this afternoon. Thank you very much for your shown interest, and thank you again for the speakers. Thank you very much.
It's a tea break, basically. Kindly join us in the tea break, please. Outside.
Right now,